First up, we have Corinne, and I just want to let all the presenters know if I say your name wrong, correct me, and feel free to come up and slap me Will Smith style. But Cori is from 2015, BSDE, an independent art director and designer based in Cincinnati, Ohio. Corinne combines her experience in design and background as an artist to solve problems, tell stories, and create compelling brand experiences. She seeks to bring thoughtful visual narration into every aspect of design. Cori, you have the stage.
Get situated here. All right. Cool. So thank you for the introduction. Today I'll be taking you through my project titled Dress.Code. So in 2019, I received the Visco Voices grant, which chose creatives pursuing work that empowered marginalized communities. And that year's theme was style. Maybe. Should I click something? Oh, hopefully I clicked a few times, so hopefully that did not mess anything up. But so I applied for this grant in 2018, and this idea of style was in line with movements like Me Too, Time's Up, and Why We Wear Black, and which was all part of the growing conversation around style and women's empowerment. Then in 2016, we saw the rise of Pantsuit Nation during the presidential campaign, and then in 2019, we saw Congresswomen flooding Trump's State of the Union address in all white. So these movements share in the mission for women's equality, but they also share in this belief that style has to embolden and unify women. Because a common experience from childhood through adulthood is this constant analysis of women's physical appearances, determining their qualifications and their intelligence. So to this day, women still cannot escape the systemic oppression of dress code, especially women of color, trans women, and plus-size women. Oh, it went ahead. On the next slide. So to understand the portraits you'll see throughout the presentation, you need to understand how and why they were created. So each person styled themselves completely with what they owned, and they did a look 1 and 2, as you'll see. Ooh, okay. So look 1 represents how the person needs to present themselves to be accepted by who or where they feel the most scrutinized. So some of the more common ones would be like family and work and partners, but obviously that's alongside with other places and people. Look 2 represents the person's truest form in that moment, radically expressing themselves with how they want to identify and be perceived. So no matter the source of scrutiny, everyone related to the daily experience of shame and guilt, which led to this project in the final form of Dress.Code, which became a series of 112 portraits reflecting on the societal scrutiny of women and non-binary individuals' self-expression and physical form. It is a visualization of our fragmented identities in the process of adapting to those who seek to define us in our everyday lives. So I designed a site experience that mimicked the minimalism of a gallery experience, creating infinite space for each person to be understood and to be really celebrated. So I wanted to do this series and then have it live on a website because of the accessibility. It allowed for community to evolve for the people that were part of the project, as well as people just seeking out stories to learn from and relate to. So within the website, you'll see that each person had a profile, and you see both looks 1 and 2, and then also below is a full written reflection that each person did. So the strength in this work is not the final design or the final images, rather it's found within the process of creating and collaborating with all of these people. The beauty really is the storytellers themselves, their journey, their vulnerabilities, their courage, and the reflection on really what it means to define themselves in the face of scrutiny. And so through this project, I really believe human-centered design is designing for others to thrive. So as you'll see for the rest of the presentation, I'm actually highlighting 5 people to focus on, and as I'm on each slide, you can look between each portrait, and I'm just reading a tiny excerpt from their reflections, which were typically very long and thorough. So this is Rithru. I always felt that I stood out too much just because I was brown. People automatically assumed I wasn't from the United States because I looked different. They would ask me where I'm from, and when I said Cincinnati, they would say, no, I mean, where are you originally from? And while my ancestors are from India, a part of me felt insulted to hear that question. I'm born and raised in Cincinnati. I'm a US citizen, so why am I still treated like a foreigner? Rather than question the way people viewed my differences, I did everything I could to fit in. I hated going outside and tanning. I hated sunscreen but would lather it on. I hated wearing Indian clothes. If I was going to an Indian festival or function, I'd make sure to bring a set of American clothes to change into afterwards, because there was no way I was stepping into Target in a lehenga. There was no way I was going to make myself feel even more like a foreigner, even though I love Indian clothing. This is Layla. As a child immigrant in America, I was brainwashed by the media that my mother was oppressed because of the scarf on her head and the modest clothing she wore, that her choice to cover up was not her choice at all, when in fact it was her choice. I was taught to believe that dressing more provocatively meant I was more free. It meant I would fit in. It meant that people would like me. I was taught by the media from a very young age that modesty was not a source of beauty, only oppression. As I grew older, I realized that in the push to free women from societal expectations when it comes to clothing, modesty was demonized, and so I let go of all of the control society had over me. I dressed in turtlenecks and long pants in the summer. I didn't care. For me to draw attention away from my body is empowering. I find that it is liberating. It gives me comfort as well. No one can look at me and reduce me to one body part. To me, modesty is so beautiful. In Islam, hijab means modesty, applicable to both men and women. Hijab goes beyond clothing. It means to carry yourself in a modest manner. This is Victoria. Since around 5, I remember my mom telling me my stomach stuck out a little and I looked like a little pregnant woman. She taught me how to suck it in. I was a very thin child already, and growing up, family members and various other people I came into contact with would tell me I looked like I had an eating disorder and would never trust me when I said I didn't. We once had a neighbor tell my grandmother I looked like a Holocaust victim. My mother has a lot of issues with her body, so I learned to hate those aspects of my body as well. I got called chicken legs, I wasn't built how girls should be built, and my Asian heritage was both equally mocked and sexualized by my male classmates. I feel like my looks seem flipped to other people, but look 1 is how I feel I have to dress and represent myself, which is different than societal norms. This is an outfit I love and feel powerful and confident in. I feel like a badass, but I don't feel like me per se. I feel like I'm playing dress up or wearing a costume, trying to emulate someone else. This kind of look doesn't feel rebellious like it used to. It feels expected of me. This is Draven. I can't ever remember being comfortable in my own body, but I have made progress. My body hit puberty so early that I took on other people's views of my body before I could come to terms with it. I still carry that. I was always larger, I was taller, I was more developed, my arms got hairy. Everything grew before I could. I didn't get comfortable with my body until I grew tired of hiding it. I was tired of wearing shapewear as a middle schooler and sucking in my stomach as I walked past the mirror. It was like an involuntary response. I never let going to the pool or bra shopping or anything that showed more of me than I wanted to. This is Maddie. I've been scrutinized about my appearance and attitude most of my life. My parents are very health conscious and micromanage my weight as a kid. As an adult, I work in a male-dominated field that judges a woman's intelligence and work ethic on appearance. On top of that, I have let a highly judgmental boyfriend into my life that has an opinion on how a real woman should dress. Like right now, I'm listening to one of his rants about his ex used to look like Paul Bunyan compared to the rest of the group of girls they were going out with one night. I never hear my girlfriends say anything about how they want their men to change the way they dress or what a real man looks like. The pressure for women to look a certain way, even by people who are meant to love who you are, is an everyday battle. Literally, I'm probably in a fight about it once a day. I want to see this project portray how women want to look and feel without someone else's judgment or influence. I'm hoping that those who see the stark contrast between each look, with the evidence directly in front of them, that they might realize just how much of a struggle it is for women to decide between themselves and society. So the Dress.Code site is not live anymore, but you can see the portion of the project on my site at CoriCorinne.com or in the book, Good by Design, Ideas for a Better World. Thank you so much.